hotel at 8:30, where Charlie will be dressed appropriately late night, I gather, in fact. So anyway, without further ado, we are all here. That's tremendous. We're all here, and we're all here to enjoy Italy beyond Chianti-shire. So I think when deciding which wines to focus on, or what we should do for an Italy session, you know, we're totally spoiled for choice. There's no other country which has the same sort of viticultural diversity and the same longitudinal spread of vineyards as Italy. When you consider you've got everything from the wonderful Rieslings and Kerners and Silvanos from the very far north, touching Austria in the Valle di Zarco, right the way down to, well, funnily enough, where we're starting with, in fact, to Sicily, you know, the baking plains of Syracuse and the very rich, jammy Nero d'Avola. You know, really, Italy has it all. So many different grapes, so many different regions, where to begin. And I think that the reference to the name this evening of the tasting is beyond Chianti-shire. You know, a lot of people's first encounter with Italian red wines, certainly mine is the kind of classic Chianti fiasco. So in the old kind of wicker baskets, in fact, and there's nothing wrong with those wines, of course, nothing wrong with those wines, but there's also then been the tendency all the way back to the days of the Grand Tour, of course, when it was tended to be gentlemen at the time, it was sort of part of the rite of passage was to do the Grand Tour of Italy, and you would often spend a lot of time in Tuscany. In fact, you know, Florence, home of the Medici, cradle of the Renaissance, etc., where I hung out for about a year when I took a bit of a sabbatical from work, gosh, nearly 15 years ago, I think. And so the Brits have a particular affinity with Chianti. Those who are fortunate enough, I spend a lot of time there, or maybe even have a home there. And there has been the tendency among Italians to refer to it as Chianti-shire. So we thought today we would get out of Chianti-shire. In the case of the final wine this evening, not terribly far, really, about 40 kilometers due south. But there was almost, if not infinite, more or less limitless. Actually, that's more or less the same thing, isn't it? Well, there's a hell of a lot of choice of what wines we could have done this evening. But what we've tried to do is effectively go, you know, top, middle, bottom. So we're starting, in fact, with the bottom, with Sicily, right in the south. We'll then head up towards the top of Piedmont for the Barbera, and then we'll come back into the middle to Tuscany, where we all feel very comfortable, and finish with the wonderful Rosso di Montalcino. Okay, so has everyone got either the Grillo or the Inzolia from Volpi in their hands, and is they giving it a good shake? Good, excellent. I'm going to have a quick sip because I'm thirsty. Oh, and I top up as well. Oh, thank you. Sicily. I mean, what a fascinating country. I'd be interested to know if anyone wants to write on the chat who's been, who hasn't. If you haven't been, you must go. Sicily is often considered these days to be the real Italy, you know, the least spoiled part of Italy, and certainly fascinating island, fascinating people, fascinating history. Even before you start considering the viticulture, and the Sicilians, or the inhabitants of the island, have been growing grapes for since 4000 BC, and that it almost puts them on a par with the ancient world winemakers, the Phoenicians, the Georgians. That's obviously Georgia in the Caucasus rather than Georgia in the deep south of the US, who I don't think have quite such a long-standing tradition of winemaking. But Sicily, by dint of its geography, had a lot of outside influences throughout the years, and the influence of the Phoenicians, of course, the Carthaginians as well. Those who've read their Roman history will know that, you know, before Hannibal decided to go the long way round to Rome, he actually had a crack through Sicily as well. So there's been certainly influence from southern Mediterranean, from North Africa, and then, of course, the Italians themselves, in fact. And, you know, Sicily remains quite a diverse wine region. I'll take this opportunity whilst I'm chatting on to actually pull up the first of my pretty poor maps. But hang on, here we go. There it is. Right, I'm just going to share this. Wait a second. Now I've found it. Hang on, here we go. Share screen. There it is. Okay. Hopefully everyone can everyone see that? Oh, my screen showing is pause. Why is it pause? Don't do that. Hang on. Resume share. There we go. Sorry. Right. Hopefully everyone just give me a quick thumbs up if you can see that map. Is that on people's screens? Charlie? Yes, thumbs. It's there. Good, perfect. So here you can see a rather basic map of Sicily, and the key areas for production are where we are, starting off actually in Marsala here on the northwest corner. Then really Malvasia delle Lipari, famous for its sweet wines in particular. You get some production in Faro in the northeast tip. There's this little patch in the center which is quite interesting, Contea di Sclafani. One of the very interesting areas, Cerasuolo di Vittoria, which is really the heartland of the DOCG wines, the top wines, and then well, Noto down here in the south, particular, and then a very interesting area is Etna here, right on the east coast, sorry. So the grapes that we are, I think I'll come out of this map now. It's not particularly exciting. There we go. I'm far better looking. So we actually we have two wines to begin with, if that makes sense, because we ran out of the Grillo. So some people have Inzolia and some have Grillo, and I'll talk about them both. I think I mentioned earlier, I mentioned briefly Nero d'Avola, the red grape, for which Sicily is well known. And that makes up about 20% of the plantings. You then have a bulk white grape called Catarratto. And Catarratto is about a third of the white plantings in Sicily. And that tends to be a sort of a padding out grape. You know, it's a blender. Apart from in Etna, where it does pretty well, in fact, makes rather more exciting wines alongside Cadicante, which is another great Etna variety. But really, for me, the two most interesting indigenous grape varieties in Sicily are Grillo and Inzolia. And these two come from Cantina Volpi, which is actually all the way north in Piedmont. So they are a family winery which started in 1914 in Tortona in Piedmont. And then over the years, they started building up their holdings of grapes and vineyards, rather. So they now have vineyards planted in Puglia, in Abruzzo, in Molise, and then, of course, in Sicily. They were founded in 1914. And they're still a family-run vineyard, winery rather, and they have been organic since 2000. So they're quite pioneering, you know, for modest wines. They really got on the organic kick very early. You'll see the bottle if everyone grabs the bottle. It's really quite attractive and very earth mothery. So the label, the name Era, is from the Greek, goddess, goddess of nature, goddess of the wild. It's actually, you know, translates into the Roman Diana, in fact. So it's quite appropriate because the wine is organic and vegan and good for you, good for the planet, etc., etc. And I think, hang on, I can't remember which one I've got. Wait a minute. I've got the Grillo. So I'll start on the Grillo. Grillo has quite a lot of kind of citrus, lemon character. It's just maybe a lick of spice as well. It was one of the main grapes in Marsala, the Sicilian famous or notorious fortified wine, which sadly never quite gained the plaudits of port or Madeira or even sherry. In fact, it's always been seen as slightly subpar, the fortified wine. But what's been interesting is that as the demand and interest in fortified wine has really diminished in Sicily, in Italy generally, in fact, it's meant that the grapes themselves can start to be used, I think, where they belong in the production of much better quality still wines. So, yeah, Grillo, I'd say, again, for me, on the nose, it's got like almost a touch of lemon sherbet. It's very fresh. It's very inviting. It's very easy to drink. It's a classic quaffer. It's frankly exactly what you want when the mercury is tipping 40 degrees in your villa outside Palermo. This is the kind of white you really want to be enjoying. When people have asked in the past, what do you pair it with? I mean, to be perfectly honest, it's your classic light, citrusy, grassy, fresh white wine. So all the sort of things that you would with, you know, a lighter Sauvignon style, a lighter Chenin, for example. I have some authentic Sicilian dry roasted peanuts. Yeah, you know, that's for me this evening. Hopefully, others have slightly more inspiring food choices. Then there's some of you who will have the partner grape to the Grillo, which is Inzolia. So Inzolia likewise was one of the main grapes in Marsala, but similarly to Grillo, has now, you know, the production is now moving far more towards still wine production, and I think that's all to the good. Inzolia is, and you should be seeing this on the nose and the palate, it's a little peachier, a little slightly more tropical fruit than the Grillo. It doesn't have quite the same high acidity. It's slightly richer and fleshier, and maybe just like a hint of nutmeg as well. That's what it should be like. Obviously, I don't have it in front of me right now, but having tried it not so long ago, that was exactly what I recall from it. It's you sometimes see the two wines blended together, but I you know, and they're not, to be perfectly honest, so many miles apart that you're necessarily going to immediately spot one and the other, you know, if you're blind tasting them. But nevertheless, I think where the Grillo, slightly more on the citrus, on the sort of fresh mown grass character, the Inzolia, as I said, touch more peachy, touch more white stone fruit alongside the citrus, and maybe a touch more spice, a bit more kind of nutmeg or cinnamon, that sort of style. Any thoughts? I'm having. Yep. Okay. So Simon's not a fan of the Inzolia. Fair enough. It's you know, I guess it's an interesting kind of point to throw open, really. I was about to ask, what do people think? One of the things with Italian whites generally, whether they come from the far south, whether they come from the far north, the styles that tend to prevail, generally speaking, tend to be rather like this, in the sense that they are unoaked, they're relatively young vines. They tend to be very fresh, very fruity, but quite light in style, in fact. And I suppose, you know, one person's bland is another person's easy drinking and quaffable. But certainly, I think, you know, we're not looking at sort of you know, top end sort of Burgundy or Riesling here. These tend to be wines at this level which are enjoyable and food friendly. So we've got some love for the Grillo from Don. Excellent, and the bottle's already run out. Well done. Zoe suggests a touch of bitterness or sourness on the finish. Yes, I always think with these kind of young, fresh, unoaked whites, for me it's actually like bitter almonds. And what I love about that is it really gets the sort of saliva flowing. It makes you want to kind of move on to the next salad, move on to the next bit of spada, swordfish, or the next kind of prawn actually as well. But they are definitely food wines in that they pair very nicely with a lot of lighter dishes, and they're very thirst quenching, I would say. Okay, so Charlotte is a fan of the Insulia. Okay, a refreshing option rather than a cold beer. Yeah. A little pepperiness on the Insulia. Yeah, absolutely. Lemon rind. Yes, I like that. Yeah. And absolutely, that alcohol at 12.5 is very, very attractive. And as I said right at the start, exactly the sort of thing that you want to be quaffing when it's sort of 40 degrees in August in Palermo. Cool. Okay, I'm just seeing if there's any other comments there that I've missed. Let's have a quick peek. I'll just expand out the chat. Dun, dun, dun. I mentioned kind of eating. Boom, boom, boom. I think we're pretty much there. Oh yes, actually, an interesting point from Claire. Well worth mentioning. This Sicily going to pay for half your flights, a third of your hotel. This is amazing. I was meant to be in Sicily in July for a friend's a big party. In fact, that's sadly been moved. I rather hope that they don't move it to next year, but they move it to a bit further back this year, and then away we go. That would be tremendous. But certainly, yeah. If you haven't been to Sicily, the food and wine are spectacular. Obviously, the scenery is remarkable, and there is a genuine sense that you are experiencing, you know, Italy as it was. Okay, well, I think we've dealt quite a lot with a fairly straightforward, simple wine. So I think we'll move on to the Barbera. I'm just seeing Andrew's comment there. It's not so much what do they use to make it vegan as what do they not use, in fact. So, you know, funnily enough, more wines are vegan than you'd think. Traditionally, the fining agents would have been an animal product. In fact, many still use egg whites for fining the wines. Very briefly, the process of fining involves getting the colloids, which are the protein ions in the wine, to knit together and drop as sediment, in fact. So, you know, a lot of people still use egg whites. Traditionally, you could also use bull's blood, which is, of course, where the name bull's blood, the famous or infamous Hungarian red, comes from. Needless to say, bull's blood doesn't make it vegan, neither do eggs. So you now use vegan fining agents, basically. So non-animal based fining agents makes it vegan. Right, so on to the Barbera. Might just have to give you that. Actually, sorry, I'll do it. Had a bit too much left in my glass there. So let's get on our Barbera. Very striking bottle, first of all. I think you'll all notice that. Does anyone want to have a guess there in chat where the bottle comes from? Obviously, no cheating if you know. I'll know if you know. So, any ideas? It's totally distinctive. I believe it's unique. Heaven given the curves. Oh, Charlotte, love it. Venice. Okay, yeah. Oh, okay. Stefan Dom might be on the right track there. Yeah. So, but before we Jamaica, very good. Yeah, no, Liam, sorry, no, back. Sorry, yeah, get to the back of the class. Murano, good. We're going with Venice and Class. So, Stefan Dommer are actually pretty much spot on. Before we come back and talk about Piedmont and the grape, it is the first thing that strikes you is this bottle, and it is based on some Roman amphora and pottery that were found on the grounds of Villa Spadina, the estate that makes the wine. And they were so taken with this bottle shape that, or this amphora shape, that they decided that they would bottle all of their wines with this special bottle, which obviously needs an entirely distinctive, unique bottling plant, etc., etc. These look particularly good, I have to say, in magnums as well. The magnum bottles of these, just for your parties this summer, spot on. Do consider it. So, Piedmont. Piedmont is a fascinating region, and we're heading sort of all the way back up to the northwest corner of Italy. I've got a much more interesting map, which I'm gonna pull up. I'm gonna pull that up now. I like this one a lot. Here we go. There it is. So I'm just going to share this with you whilst I talk. But yeah, it's a fascinating region, and it's quite a diverse region. New share. Is that sharing? Yeah. Good. Yeah, we're in. Perfect. Okay. So when we think of Piedmont, most of us will naturally think of Barolo and Barbaresco, in fact, and they come from well, the region to the north of where we are, in fact. So you know, this is the Nebbiolo is arguably, oh, zoom in, hang on, yeah, oops, that's not very handy, is it? Wait a minute. So this is this a bit more, hopefully this is a bit more useful. That's quite big zooming. Okay, well, that should be good. So when we, can you see my little pointer? Oh, you can. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. So when we think of Piedmont, and we tend to think of Barolo and Barbaresco. Barbaresco here, Barolo here. And these regions are really very, very famous because this is when Nebbiolo is grown. And Nebbiolo is arguably, well, certainly our dear friends in Montalcino and Chianti would argue otherwise, but it's arguably the most noble red grape in Italy. And it does make, as I said, these amazing wines of Barolo and Barbaresco. However, Barbera is widely planted in Italy, and very much if Barolo and Barbaresco are the, you know, king and queen of Piedmont, then Barbera is the prince, the young prince. And I know it can get a bit confusing with Italian names, but just so you understand, Barbaresco here that I'm underlining, Barbaresco is a region like Barolo, whereas Barbera, like down here, Barbera d'Alba, for example, is a grape. So does everyone get that? Does everyone get that? Hopefully they do. And whilst Nebbiolo makes very long-lived, very delicate coloured wines because it has quite a light skin, and very, very strapping tannins. It's like Pinot Noir, but with huge tannins. Barbera, conversely, has quite an intense color, It has relatively high acidity and relatively soft tannins. Now, we are down here. We are right over here in Garvi, right in this region. So near, right down towards sort of Genoa, in fact. And I think I'll stop sharing now. If anyone wants to go back and look at the map in a bit, we can, but I think that's enough for now. So if you consider that the north of Piedmont, home to the great Nebbiolos, Barolo, Barbaresco, the food culture is very French influenced. This was the region where the Dukes of Savoy held sway until the Risorgimento in the 1870s. Very French influenced cuisine. But as you move a bit further south and we start to get towards Genoa, actually where we are here in Garvi, immediately you're thinking Gavi. Hang on, Gavi, white wine. The food culture gets a touch lighter. There's more seafood. It's kind of a fresher style of cuisine. And actually, even the reds here are a bit lighter and fresher. So just as an aside, Gavi di Gavi, and these guys, Villa Sparina, make, I think, indisputably the best Gavi. I mean, it is absolutely stunning. It's perennially one of my house whites. I absolutely love it. But Gavi di Gavi, people often ask, well, what does that mean? Why do they repeat the name? So the simple fact is that the region I pointed to earlier is called Gavi, and the grape from which the wine Gavi is made is Cortese. But because Gavi is the biggest producer of it, they basically purloined the name of their own town to call the grape the Gavi itself. Hence, Gavi is their name for Cortese, and from Gavi, Gavi di Gavi. There you go. Fascinating fact. And thank you, Roger. You love their Gavi. Yeah, as I said, it's an absolute favorite of mine. Stefan Dom, yeah. So it's so nice they had to name it twice. That could be their strap line for the DOC, in fact. Anyway, back to the Barbera. So, as I said, you know, Barbera is, did I say it was the third most planted red grape in Italy? If I didn't, I should have done. I'm saying it now. Huge prizes, free trip to Sicily. No, I didn't say that. For anyone who can tell me, first person who tells me what are the top two most planted grapes in Italy. Nathan and Charlie, that doesn't include you. So first, yeah, the first two, Sangiovese, yeah, number one, or so yeah, Sangiovese, but what's the other one underneath that? Nebbiolo, no, Trebbiano is white. Corvina, nice guess, Barry and Sharon. No, I need another one. Well, we'll see. We'll see if anyone gets Syrah. Liam, you are on fire this evening. But no, it's not Syrah. No, sorry. Trebbiano, no, Trebbiano is white. Anyway, I won't get distracted by that. I'll see when it pops up. So, you know, Barbera, as I said, is very different from Nebbiolo because it's got this quite high acid, fairly intense color, but typically rather Montepulciano. Rob storms in there. Well done. Yeah, well googled. Yeah. It's got, you know, high acid but relatively soft, supple tannins. And there has been a tendency with some Barbera producers to like whack it in a load of oak to give it some kind of oak tannins, which on occasion can work quite well, but in some respects loses some of the charm of the wine. I love this sort of sour cherry character, and this nice kind of bold, bright, almost fizzy fruit. Again, a bit like the previous whites. It's really quaffable. It's very food friendly. The key thing is that acidity gives it the backbone and the life and the spark to make you want another glass. And I always want another glass, frankly. It's a grape which it's obviously mainly found in this region and across a little bit across northern Italy. It's interesting that it's the third most planted in the country because I don't know that many other regions outside Piedmont where it's widely planted, but it obviously features elsewhere too. It's also traveled a bit. I remember seeing a Barbera from, you know, Brown Brothers in Australia, for example. This was, you know, 20 odd years ago. I was new to wine and I thought, wow, Barbera in Australia. You know, like so many Italian grapes, they traveled during the various kind of periods of diaspora over the last 200 odd years when impoverished Italians invariably, you know, left the motherland and went to South America, went to the US, went to Australia, went to the promised land, and they took their grapes with them. And so, you know, Barbera, you will find it in South America. Oddly enough, it's getting quite popular in Uruguay. That's a great thing to drop into your next middle-class dinner party, that you're a big fan of Uruguayan Barbera. You know, who else is, frankly. Similarly, as I mentioned, Australia, it's gathering some fans, and even now in South Africa, they're realizing that it does quite well in warm climates, in fact. And back to Italy, back to this particular vineyard. Oh, I looked up the winery. Oh God, yeah, Paul, trust me, we will now come on to the winery itself and the whole estate. So we're here in Garvey. We're on a nice sort of nice southwest facing slope, so it gets nice and ripe, kind of clay limestone soils. Barbera enjoys these slightly richer soils, in fact. It's 100% Barbera. The average age of the grape vines are about 15 years old, but there are vines in there which are 40 years old plus, so it's got some good old vine character. It's got no oak at all. Again, no oak on this. It's all stainless steel. And it's, you know, it's fresh and fruity, and I think absolutely delicious. The estate itself, Villa Sparina, is absolutely gorgeous. And, you know, if you're not going to go to Sicily, you can go here. I've been to 2 weddings here, and they've been incredible. In fact, this is the picture I've got behind me. This is the cellar at Villa Sparina, and they hosted an amazing wedding all the length of the cellar. They've got a beautiful boutique hotel, Osteria, and a Michelin-starred restaurant as well, called Galina. I think I wrote it down here somewhere. La Galina, that's it, La Galina, yeah. So it's a gorgeous place to go. You can fly into Milan or Turin. It's about an hour and a bit's drive. You're probably better off going to Milan, actually, because then you don't have to go around the peripherique effort, which is a pain in the arse. Or, of course, Genoa and head up. It's even quicker, for sort of 40 minutes. The family, the Moccagatta family, who own Villa Sparina, are utterly brilliant. Stefano Moccagatta looks like a pirate. He's very, very big and has a wild shock of long black hair and a huge beard. And he can get from Milan to the home in about half an hour flat when he's going for it, in fact. So, but it is a glorious place to stay, and I'd definitely head there, basically. That wine's really opening up nicely. I've got to say, I don't drink enough Barbera, and I should. It's a fantastic pizza wine. It's a glorious, you know, cold meat charcuterie cheeses sort of a wine. Really, really rather delicious. Yeah, and I need another glass. Oh, where's it gone? Oh, Teresa's run off with the bottle. Oh, there she is. She's back again. No, I'm back. Yeah. Now I'm just having a little look at the comments here. Spag bowl, perfect. Will night, very nice. Yes. Yeah. Pizza Express. Yeah, I have to say, Pizza Express. Yeah, I must admit, I like their pizzas. I don't remember the Barbera, but I do remember they did a great Calabrese. The Calabrese was brilliant. Particularly the one in Woking, absolutely. And you were lucky to hang out with the Royals when you were there, at least one of them. Oh, goodness. So I've just got a top up, which is pleasing me tremendously. Just a couple of other quick random things about the wine. It's a DOC wine, like the previous wine as well, the Era wines, whether it was the Grillo and the Inzolia. So DOC in Italy is the equivalent of the AOC in France, so Denominazione Origine Controllata. And that's just basically a quality mark. It means it's the good stuff. That doesn't mean that you will always get good wines at DOC, but it's a step in the right direction. Thank you, Zoe. You seem to enjoy that. Good, excellent. How will it change with age? From Jeremy. Well, that acidity will soften. So, funnily enough, Ian's comment immediately afterwards. Yes, there is a sharpness, and that is the acidity. And what you will find is that will soften. For some, that will bring the wine into better balance and make it softer and smoother. I'm always very conscious of the word smooth, because smooth for me tends immediately to veer towards characterless and bland. However, there's no denying that at the moment the wine is spiky, and that is the acidity. Oh, okay. So Catherine and Mark, excellent, have opening up well. We only opened this about half an hour ago, and it is opening up well. That kind of bitter cherry character is particularly resonant. As I said, you know, they're a really interesting estate, fantastic people. Their Garvey is absolutely magnificent, and in fact, this is their sort of their entry level Barbera. They have at least two or three more levels that get really quite fun and silly, but they're well worth checking out. I have to say they're, for me, amongst the most interesting Barbera and Garvey producers that I've encountered in the last 20 years. Now, Ian, Liz prefers the, what's that, sharpness? What's sharpness? You'll have to unpack that one for me. Sharpness. Oh, the sharpness prefers the sharpness. Sorry, you like that. Good. Okay. So I thought that was like another wine which I was unaware of. Okay. Good. So, we shall hurtle on to our third and final wine. Excellent, Eleanor. That's very good. Yeah, actually, I haven't really commented on people's backgrounds, but it's all looking beautiful out there, I have to say. I rather like Max's pictures. They're pretty cool. It almost looks like someone's left their leg in a cast whilst lying down on the blue picture behind you, and someone's painted around it. But it's very cool, I have to say. I'm assuming it's an original work, one of yours. Brilliant, well done. So we'll move on to the Rosso di Montalcino, and again with huge apologies to Andrew, Zoe, and Wendy. Although, as I said, in many respects you'll enjoy these two now, and you'll have the Rosso to enjoy when it arrives on Tuesday or Wednesday. Good. So I started off banging on about Tuscany and the Grand Tour and the going around Italy and spending time in Florence. So gosh, I don't know, was it 15 years ago or so? I guess it was 15 years ago. So I decided, and I was fortunate enough to be in the position to be able to do this. I decided to take a bit of a sabbatical from work, and I moved to Florence. I had this crazy dream in my head. I'd never been to Italy before, I don't think. No, I had been, but I'd never been to Tuscany before. I had this crazy dream in my head that I was going to end up as the consular designate to Florence. And that never happened, although I did end up hanging out in an amazing bar right next to what was the consulate of Florence and has now closed. And I moved to Florence. I spent about 9 months nominally studying Italian, in reality just studying wine bottles and wines and traveling around various vineyards, and of course totally and utterly fell in love with Tuscany. And to this day when I'm not gonna look at the chat because it'll throw me. To this day, when people ask me what is my favorite wine, it's a terribly difficult question. It's like saying which is your favorite child. That's quite easy right now because the youngest one is being a little, anyway. No, so no, the fact is that yes, I love Nebbiolo, I love Barolo and Barbaresco, and I love Great Burgundy, and of course, who doesn't love amazing Bordeaux? But the wines which have given me the most unalloyed pleasure over all these years are the wines from Montalcino. Great Brunello for me is just unbeatable, in fact. But unfortunately, well, no, we'll come to Brunello. Well, the problem with Brunello is it's expensive. As simple as that. It's not an inexpensive wine, and it's not an everyday wine. So I've been so delighted to find amazing Rosso, which is what we're drinking now. Am I drinking this now? Did you pour this? Is that still the other one?
No, it's still the other one.
It's still the other one. Good. Okay. Right. So you can pour that. Thank you. Yeah. Can't get the assistance these days. So yeah, exactly. So Montalcino, we're now to the south of Chianti, very much so, but it's the same grape. It's Sangiovese. The region itself has a lot of history dating back to the Etruscan period. In fact, Castello Romitorio was originally a Roman fortification. So the Etruscans, the Romans, big influence. The region was held under the control of Siena. So actually, I've been talking about Florence, but there was a strong period of time where the Sienese and the Florentines were battling constantly over control of the region. And The name, this I have to be absolutely honest with you. I only looked this up today. I never knew this. So Montalcino actually comes from Mons Ilcinus. Mons Ilcinus, which Dr. Snay will know well because as a medic he knows Latin impeccably. Is yes, Snay?
Indeed, indeed, indeed.
And Mons Ilcinus means.
I'll leave that honor to you, my friend.
Okay, yeah, sure. It doesn't mean kidney stones. No, it actually means it's the Holm Oak Mountain. So clearly it was a mountain with holm oaks on it, and that's where it got its name. So there you go. It's a fascinating bit of pub quiz trivia, which I've never found out until now, but just goes to show I'm learning at these wine therapy sessions too. It's good for me. Now, the history of Montalcino really kicks off properly with Ferruccio Biondisanti, who was a soldier during the 1870s, during the Risorgimento, which we mentioned earlier. And when he came back to his grandfather's estate in Montalcino, he really wanted to make wine. And without Biondisanti, you would not have Montalcino. You would not have the wines as they are today. They were the pioneering family. So, you know, the Biondisanti family were absolutely key. They really recognized that the Sangiovese Grosso grape, or the Brunello grape. So Brunello means little dark one. It's the diminutive, Brunello, little dark one. And it is, dun, dun, dun. Oh, thank you. Sorry, my younger daughter's just come in with some popcorn for us. The perfect accompaniment to good Rosso. Very good. Threw me there. Sorry, no, that's right. So the grape Brunello means little dark one, and they realized that it was the same grape but a different clone of Sangiovese. So the Sangiovese that you find up in Chianti, that you find in Montepulciano, that you find over on the coast in Morellino di Scanzano, etc. It's all the same grape. Sangiovese, keeping things good in Latin, because I know you love the Latin, is actually a corruption of the old medieval Latin, sangue di Giove, the blood of Jupiter. And that's what accounts for that slightly ferrous character of the wine, that kind of rust, iron. Also the color itself, it's not as bold as the Barbera was. In fact, I think, have you got the Barbera? Yeah. So I'm looking at the two together, because Teresa's still got a glass of the Barbera, and it's, you know, the Sangiovese, the Rosso, is noticeably kind of darker, more bloody, more Icarus, in fact. So it's the same grape. It's the same grape as Chianti, which is quite nice to come all the way. We've gone beyond Chianti-shire, but we're sort of coming back or near to. But it's a different clone, and it's called Sangiovese Grosso, so fat Sangiovese. It's not fat grape. It's not a big grape. The key thing is it's got a thicker skin, and that thicker skin gives it bigger and richer tannins. And that's what gives Brunello its wonderful ability to age, you know, in a way which is very rare to find Chianti or even Vino Nobile di Montepulciano, etc., to age as well. So, you know, Brunello is the ager. It's probably Italy's most famous wine, I think. You know, it's certainly hugely popular in the US, hugely popular in the UK, Scandinavia. It travels very well. It was given its DOC, the Denominazione, in 1980, and then it given its DOCG in 1980. It was the first Italian wine region to get the kind of the top tier of Italian wine classifications. DOCG is Denominazione Origine Controllata Garantita. So it's like guaranteed quality, in fact. And I have to say, it's very rare, touch wood, cross fingers, that you'll drink a bad Brunello, in fact. So after Biondisanti, there were about 25 producers by the 60s. That went up to about 50 by the time they got the DOCG. Now, in the last 30, 40 years, we're over 200 producers. I think it's 223 and counting producers in the region. But the quality level is super, super high. And why Brunello is so important, and why we like it, is because they have to age the wines for a minimum of 50 months after the vintage before release. So, you know what you're tasting when the wine is shipped. Of course, these wines will age very well for a long time, but nevertheless, you can start to drink them on release. Damn, that's good. So we, however, are drinking the Rosso di Montalcino. So this is the younger vine fruit from the estate, same grape, etc., etc. I think the vines here are somewhere between 15 to 20 years old. It is aged in 100% old oak, big Botti Grandi, the big kind of 500-litre plus barrels. And you've got that real kind of wild, savoury, herbal, ferrous, Icarus Sangiovese character. I just love the nose of this wine. Just turning quickly to the chat. How long would you keep this for? This is the 2017 vintage. I absolutely adore Rosso di Montalcino with about 4 or 5 years age, but I'd comfortably keep this for 7, 8 plus. 17 is a very hot year, so you're getting quite a lot of warm, ripe fruit already. But definitely, it will continue to age and develop, and a bit like the Barbera, the acidity will drop rather pleasantly. So the estate itself, Castello di Dormitore. Can everyone who's got it, and again, apologies, Andrew, Zoe, and Wendy, just grab the bottle and have a good look at this wonderful bottle. You'll, I'm sure, recognize the image on the label. This is Sisyphus pushing his stone endlessly up the mountain, only for it to roll back down again. It could even be Mount Montesoli, where the vineyard is, in fact. And what's fascinating about Castello di Romitorio is that this gorgeous old castle, which is one of the, let's do a map. Oh, it's a really shit map, but we'll come back to the map in a minute. Actually, it doesn't really enhance things, if I'm honest. But the castello itself dates back to Roman period, and it was owned by a very wealthy art lover and general sort of patron of the arts, Giorgio Franchetti, who himself has a number of wineries now. Back in 1984, I think it was, he sold it to the very famous artist Sandro Chia. So Sandro, who some of you will know who are art lovers, contemporary of Basquiat, was one of the leaders, if not the most important figure in the neo-expressionist movement in Italy, the transavanguardia, in fact, movement in modern art. And Giorgio Franchetti was such a fan of Sandro's wines, he basically swapped the castle for 5 of Sandro's paintings. And so Sandro set up shop there as his studio, and he's still working there today. And then he also got fascinated by the revolution in Montalcino that took place in the 80s. You know, this is when Montalcino really put itself on the map. And he was joined in 2005, 2006 by his lovely son, Filippo. There's probably certainly a couple of people here tonight who were on our very first Zoom tasting with Filippo. Gosh, was it last month or even March? I can't even remember now. But so we did a wonderful tasting with Filippo, who is an incredible kind of polymath like his father. He talks a lot about everything, and he's a wonderful guy. And they make wonderful wines. So they're just having a quick sniff here again. Oh yeah, you know, classic Ferrous Sangiovese. So the estate has about 15 hectares. Many of the vineyards are right on this, the kind of the Grand Cru hill of Montalcino is Montosoli, and they have some of the highest vineyards in Montalcino, and they make these amazing wines, which are incredibly pure and authentic and utterly true to the mission of Montalcino. So it's about 200 meters. 200 meters up, some of the parcels up to 500 meters. That's about as high as the vineyards get in Montalcino. And because they're in the sort of northern part of the region. They are warm, but not as warm as the south. I tell you what, I'm going to pull up this map. It's really disappointing map, but it's the best I could find. I apologize. I'm going to pull it up because I think it's vaguely useful. Not that one. Oh, no. Oh, hang on.
Maybe it's self-destructed.
Oh, here it is. Yeah, okay. I'm going to pull this one up. Again, apologies in advance. It's pretty rubbish. Okay. Screen sharing. Here we go. Right. I'll just pull this into the center, try and make it a bit bigger. It's not very good. So if you consider to the north here, we're heading up to Siena. And, you know, here is Montalcino, the town itself. We are positioned, gosh, I'm going to get this wrong. We are positioned round about here. I think it's funny. It's not on this indicator here, but we're round about here. In fact, fairly high up. And then we also work with, for example, Mastroianni, another great Brunello producer, and they're right down here in Castelnuovo dell'Abate. So further south and appreciably warmer. Even that distance there, you've got a warmer site, and therefore it makes a different expression, almost a richer style. Here it's a touch cooler. The vineyards are a touch higher. And I think that's what gives the wine its great elegance and freshness. There's the other main kind of area as well is Sant'Angelo in Colle, which is down here. And again, that makes slightly kind of riper, warmer, richer styles. Right, let's get out of this map. I don't like this map.
Charlie's disappointed as well.
Yeah, it's disappointing map. Sorry, we'll do better next time. Yeah. Quick comment from Claire there. Vintage charges you drink Brunello plus 10 years. The thing is that the current vintage release of Brunello is 2015. So if you like, you've already got 5 years. You could certainly wait another 5 years before opening bottles. But like so many quality wine regions like Bordeaux, I'm thinking in particular Barolo, the modern style of winemaking, with a few exceptions, funnily enough, like Beyond di Santi, you still make very unbendingly traditional, rigid, rich wines, is to make wines which have a rather more open-ended drinking window. And that's all to do with tannin management. So you try and press the grapes in a very gentle way. You try and do the élevage in a way which allows you to start drinking earlier without meaning you have to finish them within 10 years. William, is a Rosso required to be 100% Sangiovese? That's a very good question. I always thought yes, but I actually think you can, I think I remember being told this, you can have a little bit of Canaiolo or Colorino or even kind of Merlot or other bits and pieces in there. Probably not more than 10 to 20%. In reality, I don't think I've knowingly ever tried a Rosso which isn't 100% Sangiovese. I think of Rossos, there are two types. There are the kind of very light styles, which are very pleasant and pleasing. Icarus, sorry, Charlotte, I mean Icar, as in I-C-H-O-R, Icar, you know, like that. Yeah, not Icarus as in losing your wings, that sort of thing. Yes, Simon, I know. Did you finish them all? So there are some Rossos which are kind of a lighter kind of an entry style that are more like the calling card for the Brunello, and then there are some which are very much baby Brunello styles, which really are just the younger vines but treated with similar care and attention. I think of this as somewhere between the two. You know, you've definitely got some of the complexity of the Grand Vin. At the same time, it is approachable now. And it will certainly age. But for me, this in 4 or 5 years' time will be absolutely tremendous, absolutely tremendous. And it's exactly the style of Sangiovese I like. It's you know, it's got great structure, great finesse, beautiful aromatics. You know, that slight kind of a touch of licorice, a touch of sort of leather saddles, that sort of thing. There we go. Thank you, Peter, for Googling that. Yes, ichor is either the fluid that flows like blood in the veins of the gods or a watery discharge from a wound. I'm going to go with A. I'm going to go with A on this one, I think. You know, hopefully everyone else will as well. Good. The fluid that flows like blood in the veins of the gods. Well, there you go, which makes sense because sangue di Giove, the blood of Jupiter, the blood of Jove. That's where the name comes from. Makes perfect sense. Gosh, we've hit 7:30 already. Amazing. Gosh, and you're all still here. I think that's even more amazing. So good. Not heading anywhere immediately. Obviously, for those who do need to head off and have their dinner, etc., or unlock their children from the cellar, then please do. But if anyone's got any questions, wants to either keep on the chat or just unmute themselves and ask, then please. We're all grown up, so we allow you to unmute yourself. You've all been remarkably civilized thus far, more or less. So any questions, please go for it. I will just start by asking. Answering Steph and Dom's question. Living or dead, who would I most want to share a glass of wine with? My wife. Sorry. I got it. I don't know if you heard that. Yeah, my wife. Of course, Teresa. Thank you.
I'm right here.
Yeah. Of course, my wife. There we go. I was only hesitating because I don't know. I was thinking how best to express that particular. Yeah. So there we go. We'll leave it at that. Good. Moving on rapidly. Any comments or questions on the wines this evening? Any particular favourites? Please.
Unmuting? It could be.
Oh, I think yeah. Everyone can. People can unmute themselves. I think. Yeah. Can you unmute yourself? You should be able to.
Hello.
Yeah. Heather. Oh no.
Hi. Heather, well, Christopher from Hayfield. It's been a very nice experience, actually. Just shows you what self-isolation can do for you. We got a house in Piedmont. We've come across these Villa Sperina gavies. There's a wonderful restaurant near us called the Bar Don. And I must say that it's been a wonderful experience having this. And thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been good.
Gosh, well, that's an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much indeed. Yeah, and lucky you with the house. Lucky you with the house there. It's such a glorious part of the world. And
we've got a small vineyard of Barbera, about 3 hectares, and we don't make our own wine. We send it all to the Cantina Sociale in Agliano. But it's a wonderful experience, actually.
Beautiful, and we can recommend Sicily. Sicily's amazing, absolutely.
We've been about 5 times to Sicily, and you could go for a lifetime and not see it all. It's wonderful.
Yeah, totally. No, it's
anyway, thank you so much. We'll be back.
Thank you very much.
We like number 2 a lot. That was great.
Now, who was that? Sorry, was that
David from David?
David and Wendy. You like the Barbera? Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, Bob. Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
It was not sophisticated
I think who was that? Sorry, I lost that. Was that both of you, or I got some others opening themselves up there? But all I'm hearing is love, which is good. So
yeah,
it's good.
We both liked it.
It's very nice.
Excellent. Yeah. So Andy, you're unmuted there. Did you have something exciting to say, or did you just say it and I missed it? No.
Yeah, something exciting to say.
Oh, perfect, excellent. He's enjoying the bottle.
He
Good
remembers
man.
you from the nights we had the swear night, you know. He said you've had your hair done. He said since then.
Yes, exactly. You'll notice I have considerably less hair than when we saw each other last. Indeed. I'm just having a look at Emily's comment. Why is Rosso called Rosso and not Sangiovese? It could be Sangiovese di Montalcino. I suppose it could be, although to be honest, the Montalcino producers very much like the fact that their grape is Sangiovese Grosso. It is Brunello. You know, for them that's the grape. You know, that Sangiovese is what Chianti guys make their wines from, and other people around Tuscany. So yeah, it's for them. For them it's very much Brunello. So it's the second wine, Rosso. Charlotte. Charlotte saying big Stellenbosch fans. What white would you recommend? For yeah, okay, but I can't robust enough white to disappear. Well, interesting, Charlotte, because if you sign up, if you haven't already, to sessions 5 to 8, we are kicking off with South Africa, in fact. Oh, no, are we? Well, it features pretty in that set. Huge fan of South African wines. And we've just done an offer on the Jordan Chardonnay, which is one of my favorites and is tremendous. I think, you know, if you like a richer style of wine, then some of the New World Chardonnays that are made still with a little oak offer plenty of robustness, plenty of flesh, still good structure, and an awful lot of taste, frankly. Yeah.
Someone recommending
Donovan Rowell, someone's
yeah.
yes. I mean, God, what an amazing producer. Yeah, from the Swartland. Yeah, we love Donovan. We love his wines. They're tremendous. Oh yes, and Elena, please please do that. We're going to do a quick unmuting. Yep, go for it.
We would just like to wish Eva a happy birthday.
Muting everyone for that. So happy birthday, Eva.
If you want.
Birthday, Eva.
Happy birthday.
Well, she's
Birthday.
Where's your sister?
And I'm gonna mute you all again now. Perfect. That was fun. A comment from Phil about not doing Chardonnay. Which tastings do we recommend? All the other ones that don't have Chardonnay in. I know we have we have a white Burgundy one coming up. After that, I don't think any Chardonnay features. But certainly drop us a line tomorrow, Phil, and we've got some interesting white wines in future sessions, which I think should be good. The Storm Air, yes. The Storm Air Sauvignon, tremendous, Stefan Dom. I've got a bottle downstairs. Viognier, Catherine and Mark, another great white. Gosh, thank you, Charlotte. That's very, very kind. And Icarus is in my room. Wow, Simon, excellent. You've been going strong this evening. This is excellent. Yeah, good. I think we'll draw things to a tentative close now. As I said, if you haven't signed up to sessions 5 to 8, then please do join us. We've got lots going on. We've also got some fascinating grower events coming up as well. For those who are around on Wednesday, as well as Thursday's session, we've got a fascinating tasting with Jonathan Malthus of his 2019 Bordeaux's. That'll be a bit more academic, but fascinating for anyone who wants to find out what is going to happen with the 2019 vintage and the en-primeurs. Then we're also planning, and I think you should see it on the events page early next week, we're going to be doing a brilliant champagne versus English sparkling wine tasting with our dear friends Fréjus Frères and also Exton Park, in fact. So that will be something really quite interesting. And we will have Corinne Seeley, the winemaker, Exton Park, and Rodolphe Fréjus Tattinger, the CEO of Fréjus Frères, joining us for that. So lots of fun things to come. Finally, of course, all the wines you've tried this evening are available from Honest Grapes. So if you'd like any of them to augment your cellars, please do get in touch with Charlie and Angus and myself. And apart from that, have a great evening. I had one last thing to add, actually, that the Monica Lana, the wine critic for, or the Italian wine critic for the Wine Advocate, particularly recommended the Romitorio Rosso di Montalcino with a great Amatriciana pasta. Now that's one of my personal favorites, and I can see that working brilliantly. So if you haven't sorted out what you're having for dinner this evening, and you've got, you know, a bit of onion, a bit of tomato, some chili and some pasta and some bacon, that's all you need. It's a great way of finishing off the Rosso this evening. Charlotte, my favorite vineyard in Tuscany tonight, of course, it's Romatorio. I mean, I love Romatorio. We have another great Brunello producer, Val di Cava, also Mastroianni. I do have a sneaking love for Tenuta San Guido, the wines of Sassicaia and their subsidiaries. And watch this space. We found a new one just recently, Argentera, which is doing some amazing work with Cabernet Franc and Syrah, two grapes which I think, in fact, are brilliantly suited to Tuscany. So watch this space. We'll be presenting those hopefully in the non too distant future. Great. Gosh. Argentera, the second spelling, I think. Yep. No, it's not that, Charlotte. I'll get back to you on that. But yeah. Cool. I'm just. Oh, Ketchupella. Yes. Peter, thank you for reminding me. In fact, I'm very fortunate that the vineyard is sending me a bottle of their Batar, which is their Pinot Bianco Chardonnay blend, which for me is the finest. In fact, sorry. So someone earlier we were talking about, you know, Italian whites being. Anyway, I can't remember what we were saying. Point is, Batar is for me the most exciting Burgundy alternative in Italy. It really is stunning. So I can't wait to try the new vintage of that. And their Chianti is tremendous, of course, and the Super Tuscan is really, really good. Yeah. Perfect. Elena, I will send you a list of these. You have to remind me list of what though, of Tuscan vineyards. Anyway, I'll do that, no problem. Inside Chianti-shire dish from Claire. Yes, we could very comfortably do. We could very comfortably do a session, frankly, focused purely on Chianti and the producers we work with there. There's plenty there. Good. Okay. Well, everyone, as I said, lovely to see you all. I will let you all head off for the evening. Let's do a bit of a cheers. Oh, I'm going to pour a bit more of the Rosso. It's always good to have a cheers on this. Fantastic to see you all. I said, please sign up for the next few sessions. Check out what else we're doing. Really appreciate you joining us.
Well done, thank you.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.
Send the video links as well.
Yeah, video links for sure. Definitely. We'll get those uploaded and away we go. Brilliant. Thank you, guys.
Cheers.
Ciao.